Hey family, what's going on? It's your chief visionary, Natasha Davis, and I gotta tell you, I'm sitting here and I was having my coffee this morning, thinking about my day, and my heart just bleeds for these teachers that were sentenced yesterday. You guys know I don't really come on and weigh in on a whole bunch of stuff publicly, but I gotta tell you, this one actually broke my heart. This one really broke my heart. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm watching teachers being sentenced to 5 years and 7 years and 20 years and, you know, all these crazy numbers. And I'm thinking to myself, what are we doing here? What's happening? You know, for those that may or may not know about the APS scandal, the short version is in about 2009, the CRCT results came out. They were revealed, they were published, and it was revealed that the scores are weird. Like it was too high, it was too out of control. So there was an investigation that was launched and so forth after the 2009 CRCT results came out. And in 2011, after the investigation, they found that 44 of the 56 schools in the Atlanta Public School District had found to have cheated. So teachers and principals, they were changing grades and changing answers and things of that nature. And they found that about 178 or so teachers and principals were actually involved. Now, in 2011, remember, the No Child Left Behind Act came in, and so there were elevated mandates and expectations and so forth. And, you know, so here we have it, fast forward to 2015 as we sit here today, and we witnessed yesterday 11 of the 12 teachers and principals and executives that stood before the judge were sentenced to 5 and 7 years and fines of $25,000. They were actually sentenced to 20 years in jail, but to serve 7 years. Or they were sentenced to 20 years to serve 5 years, or sentenced to 5 years to serve 1 year. Majority of them did receive 20 years and to serve 7 years. Plus they had 2,000 hours of community service once they come out. Of course, they can never work as a teacher again, and they had a $25,000 fine. Now, guys, I have to tell you, I take a lot of issue with this. That's why I said, let me come and talk to my people. What is happening? What are we doing? Where it's, we have a legal system that thinks it's okay to imprison teachers for what they did for 7 years. I mean, I'm definitely saying, and I have to tell you guys this, I am just a citizen just like you. I am not a legal professional. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a paralegal. I don't have any legal background. So this is just a concerned citizen speaking their opinion. This is my opinion. This is my stand. I think it is absurd that teachers have been sentenced to 5 and 7 years. Meanwhile, we have rapists, we have human traffickers, we have murderers. We have hardcore criminals that are walking the streets, that are terrorizing individuals, we have law enforcement that's shooting down men and boys of color, just taking them down, and they're walking and they're going home as if nothing happened. And it infuriates me to see that the legal system thought it was appropriate to sit down and say, yes, we're going to imprison these teachers and these principals and these executive directors. And let me tell you, let me come back by saying, I'm not saying what they did was right. I'm not saying that they should not be penalized for what they did. Yes, what they did was wrong. Wrong is wrong and right is right. And what they did was wrong. Somebody had to say, okay guys, we have got to stop. We can't do this, or what are we really doing here? Let's stand back. However, when you look at over 178 professionals that went to college, got a degree, really are intelligent, and they all sat down and they felt pressured to do this. 44 of 56 schools, that's more than half of the schools in the APS system that felt compelled to do this, to cheat. There's something bigger than this. This is not somebody that woke up and said, you know what? I want the easy way out. I don't want to teach these kids. I don't want to do my job. I don't want to work for my paycheck. I'm just going to cheat my way over. This is higher than that. When you have more than 50% of the schools in an entire district where you have 178 teachers and principals and executive directors, educated, qualified, intelligent people that are saying this is our only way out. Because when the system has set up a group of people to fail, and then they also put penalties on it, you know, what we have to remember is these teachers, if they did not hit the goals and hit the targets, and they're working with a group of children who may or may not advance, you're talking about teachers that are risking, I'm going to be penalized, there's going to be severe consequences, I'm going to be terminated, I'm going to be ostracized, I'm going to be maligned, I'm going to be transferred somewhere else. So the penalties that were imposed and the pressure that was imposed on the teachers and the principals to meet these goals, it was crazy, because you had kids that will advance and kids that won't advance. First of all, let's be real. Teachers do not get paid very well for what they do, just like nurses, right? They don't get paid very well for for what they do. When you're sitting here and you have parents who will not, and I'm going to say it, when you have parents who do not take vested interest in their children, they think that the teachers are there to babysit their kids, but they send their kids when they're poorly behaved, poorly educated. You have parents that won't sit down with their kids and go over their homework. You have parents that won't even show up to a parent-teachers meeting, but they want to complain if their kids don't get the best of the best. Well, you know what? Get involved, parents. Get involved. Be vested in your kids' education. Why don't you sit down and make sure they understand what they've learned? And if your child is having a challenge, don't go buy another shoe. Don't go buy another purse. Go and enroll them into some kind of tutoring program so that they can be better. A teacher's responsibility is not to babysit your kids. It is to educate them, and then the reinforcement of the education is supposed to take place at home. So here we have a system. And I know some people may be upset with me right now, but it's okay. I'm doing it in love. I'm being honest, okay? We have a system that has put so much pressure on teachers, first of all, that don't even get paid enough to do what they do. They have to stand before kids who are disrespectful. They have to stand before kids who will threaten to harm them with a weapon. They have to stand before parents who are also doing the same thing. And they're saying, I'm trying to help your kids to be better, and you won't join me, you won't lock arms with me to do this. And yesterday, it just broke my heart. 11 of the 12 teachers were sentenced to hard prison life. Are we kidding here? Well, what are we going to tell the rest of the school system? What are we sending the message to the other teachers? You know what? How about when we turn around and, just like how we had a nursing shortage, what happens when we have a teaching shortage? What's going to happen to our children then? What's going to happen to our school system and our economy then? What's going to happen to the great USA when we have a teacher shortage, because teachers are afraid that they're going to be imprisoned if they try to meet the standards, that the high standards that have been set, and they can't reach them? They're going to be terminated, they're going to be imprisoned, or they're going to be, severely penalized. What options do they have? What are they going to do? Change professions. They're going to go south. They're going to go somewhere else. We have got to think. The legal system has got to think beyond the black and white. There are shades of gray. Again, I am not saying that the teachers they should not have been penalized. But let's step back and look at this. 44 schools of the 56 in APS were found guilty or were found a part of the CRCT cheating scandal. 44 of the 56 schools, that's number one. Number two, over 178 teachers and principals were involved. How is it that 11 of the 12 stood before a judge and was sentenced to 5 and 7 years in prison when there's 178 people involved, when there's a school of 44 schools involved? When do we go back and we look at the system? See, because the system has set these teachers up to be cheaters, to be liars, to be thieves, because they impose this strict accountability on them and these strict parameters, and they're like, we can't meet them, but we can't tell them we can't meet it because they won't hear it. Well, if we're going to be the best, we have to take everything into account. We are losing ground. We are losing footage when the US of A is sending teachers to prison. We cannot stand and compete with any other country when half of our system is in jail. I mean, we have to think about that. So I am just really brokenhearted, and all I ask is we have to pray for these teachers. We have to pray for their souls. They tried, I in my heart, I believe they tried to do the right thing. They looked at the options and they weighed out and they said, oh my God, we have to help the kids, but the kids don't want to be helped. We have to help the parents are fighting against us. We have a broken system, but we have to meet these goals. And they're moving pieces around. And when you sit down and you have educated individuals with bachelor's and master's degrees and PhDs that are sitting down saying the only way out is if we just kind of help them along and change some answers, because otherwise we're going to be beat down. We're going to be beat down. We've taught the kids. We've given them the homework. We've given them the lesson. We hired the best teachers. We've trained the best teachers. We've done all that we could. And yet the kids are still coming out and they're failing miserably. What are we going to do, guys? The only thing we can do is make some adjustments on the tests or the answers that is so wrong that it's going to skew us so far left. And then unfortunately, these guys were put in a very bad position and they made a bad decision. They did. Do I think they should have been penalized? Absolutely. When you do wrong, you have to say you can't do these things. We have to stand back. But to be given 5 years and 7 years in hardcore prison is unacceptable. So we need to pray that these teachers of the appeal will go through. We got to pray for God's grace and mercy over these teachers, that they have the right attorneys in their corner, and the attorneys that are in their corner, that they're level-headed. They're not angry, but they're level-headed and they're sharp, and they can understand the system and they can fight for their teachers and they can fight for these individuals so that the appeal will go through. We got to pray that the individuals that are sitting on the bench will have enough understanding and will think past the black and white and will see the shades of gray. And the appeal will go through, not in a year, not in 2 years, but in a very short time frame, that somebody will step up and say, hey, what we're doing is a little too coarse, it's too rough. We cannot imprison these teachers like this. We can impose penalties. We can say, okay, you know what? You can never work as a teacher again, or you can never work as a principal. Find another career. You have to pay back a fine. Okay, fine. But that's another thing. How do you charge someone for $25,000 fine, but yet they cannot work in their current position, and you deem them indigent? I mean, we're trying to chokehold these people. We're trying to kill them. It's like slow suicide or slow murder, whatever we want to call it. But it hurts my heart, and I feel so sorry for the teachers. I feel so sorry for the system. I feel very sorry for the children and for the families. I feel sorry for everyone that's involved. And I pray for all of them. And I ask that y'all pray for these teachers, because they do not deserve 5 and 7 and 20 years. They don't deserve this. Community service, yes. Give back, yes. Maybe a couple months, maybe some time. Okay, how about everybody just goes on sentence a year? Let's just do that. We cannot tie up the prison system, and we have to then, as taxpayers, we have to then pay taxes to take care of, because we pay taxes for those that are in prison, okay? So we have to pay the taxes for teachers that they cheated. No one was murdered. No one was murdered, but we have law enforcement that's shooting down human beings like cattle, and they're walking the streets like nothing. It's okay. We have people that are trafficking children for sex, and they're still walking the streets. So when we tie up the prison system beds with individuals that change scores on a paper, and I don't mean to trivialize it, but that's real. When you compare it to human trafficking, to murder, yeah, it is very trivial. We're tying up the prison system with individuals that change scores on a paper, so that when we do have these people, we have an overcrowded system. This is absurd. It is absolutely ridiculous. I really pray that the right eyes and ears will see this and they will do something. Get up and do something. You are in the legal system. You went to school. You have a law degree. You understand it. Get up and go do something. Let's join forces and fight for the rights for these teachers, because they are broken-spirited. They're confused. Okay, they made a wrong decision, but we have to fight for them. We cannot sit here and think it's okay for these teachers to sit in prison for 5 and 7 years, or wait for 2 years for an appeal to come through while they sit in prison. It is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And I could go on this for hours, but I've done enough. And but you know what? Forward this video. You guys, this is one video. If you never shared a video I've sent, this is one video that you have to send. You forward this video. You share it like you've never shared it before. We have got to get this message out to the right people. This video has to be in the ears of the right people. Send it, forward it, share it. Just keep sharing it and share it on all your networks, because we have got to fight for these rights. Because I can tell you something. I have people in the school system that are my family. They're not in the state of Georgia, but I have family that's in here, and I would hate for one of my family members to have to be standing in front of a judge to be sentenced for 5 and 7 years because they changed the papers. The intention was good. Unfortunately, the route they took was bad. So let's punish them accordingly, but this is way too harsh. It's your chief visionary, Natasha Davis, signing out. I love you guys. And as I always say, be productive, be progressive, and without any hesitation, be 100% successful. This is a prayer card. We have got to pray for these teachers. Let's join forces and do something big. If you have something that you think we can do to help them, if you know someone, let me know. You connect with me. You log on to visionarypeoplearise.com. My contact information is there. Let's do something. Let's join forces and help these teachers. I love you guys. God bless.